I'm going to tell you the most profitable part of a car dealership and why you need to be more careful because you're just probably adding more money to their banks. Hey, my name's Tommy. I was in sales, finance, everything in between. I spent most of my adult life in the car industry. Now I help people get good deals. You need to be way more careful when you're in the dealership because you've probably added to the problem before. So if you guys don't know, the majority of my career, I was a finance manager. So if you don't know what the finance manager is, that's the guy or the girl that does all the paperwork in the back. They take the credit app, they do the financing, they go through all the additional products. And this position right here is the most profitable. The finance department makes the most amount of money when it comes to percentage. There's very little overhead. You have the cost of the warranty, the cost of the gap, and that's about it. It's almost all pure profit. There are plenty of deals that the dealership will take losers on the front, knowing that their back end will make in the back. And you need to be very careful because the people they put back here, me included, are some of the best in the business when it comes to sales. These are the people that use psychology to manipulate you to buy. And you might say, Tommy, I'm not part of the problem. I know how to say no to the finance manager with his products. But I was in that position for 5 years. And I'll tell you that I was one of the top 1% in the country. 90% of people will say no in the finance department to start out. When I go through my presentation, whatever that is, 90% of all people just say no. That's the statistics we hear in finance. Our job is to convert 80% of those to yeses. So 90% total conversion rate. And that's what I did. Even though 90% of people walked in saying no, 80% of them say yes in the end, which is a very, very powerful stat. And don't get me wrong, that's part of the reason why I do what I do now. I want to give back because of the amount of money I made for my dealership. When I wanted to get out of the car industry, I thought of so many ways I could make dealerships more money. I wanted to find a way to give back to people because that was the money that I have been profiting on all these years. I deserve to give my knowledge to give back to the people. So that's why I made this channel, but let me show you how you can avoid it. So finance managers are going to use a combination of emotions and analytical side of your mind to convince you to buy products. We're going to talk about, when it comes to the analytical side, we're going to talk about these cars are technology. That's what they are. They're, the screen is extremely expensive. All the self-driving technology is extremely expensive. And if something was to break on that, that is not something we repair nowadays. That's something we replace. And if you look at that $4,000 screen, you're going to hear prices. $4,000 screen, $3,200 eyesight system. You're going to hear prices thrown out all on the other side. And then what they're going to do, once they've kind of layered that in, knowing that this thing is expensive, is they're going to talk about how cheap it is to add to your monthly payment, $20, $30. They're going to use interest rates to manipulate how much of a difference that looks like. So it might only look like an extra $20 or $30 a month, but you're actually adding $7,000, $8,000 of product. It's so important to learn how to read a purchase agreement. If you want me to do a video, I can actually break down how a purchase agreement, how a payment contract, but the way to avoid all of this is to actually try to avoid meeting the finance manager in the first place. There's a secret to do that, and that's to do remote delivery. Try to do your delivery over the phone and try to do your paperwork as remote as possible. Almost every dealership is going to try to get you in store, and they're going to say that's nearly impossible. If you put your foot down and say, hey, I want to sign as much paperwork, including my bank contract, before I get there, they are not going to lose a sale over getting financed their opportunity. The rule that we had at our dealership was you always secure the front before you go for the back. So the front being the front end, the actual car deal, the back being the finance side. So almost every dealership runs off this mentality. So if you give these salesperson enough of an issue, they are going to let you do all your paperwork up front. And then when you're doing it over the phone, there's not the emotion. For us, we had a nice glass window. You could see your car the entire time you could sign. That's an emotional draw. And you might say, Tommy, I'm not emotional. You're spending $40, $50, $60, $70, $80,000. There's an emotional purchase there. It's one of the biggest things you're going to do. Even the people that are the most analytical, they have an emotional draw to it. So know that's going to be a possibility. So try to do it all over the phone. And when you have it over the phone, the beautiful thing is there's not a time constraint. So if you want to think about something or you don't know, you can just say, I don't know, I want to think about it. Let me think about it and maybe I'll let you know later. But the general rule of thumb is just to say no to everything. That's the best way to do it. Now, I do have videos on why you should get gap insurance. You need to go back and watch those if you're interested in that. And then I also have videos on if you should buy a warranty or not. Those are two videos I definitely recommend you watch because I think warranties are the right place for certain people in certain budgets. And I also think gap insurance is important. The rest of the products, we can talk about them. I can break down every product we sold if you want to see something like that. But I wanted to do a video on the finance department because I think it's an underlooked thing. A lot of people, when it comes to these videos on TikTok that I see, are salespeople. And the salespeople don't see the finance side. It's really a mystery to a lot of them what goes on back there. And they don't realize the amount of money that's actually made. They sometimes have a negative relationship with their finance guy. I know that I did when I first started, and I worked to try to overcome that when I was in finance myself, trying to be more transparent and upfront, be more transparent for you guys. So if you guys like and follow this content, like and follow. Thanks, guys.